Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic Game Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and I am here to talk about somebody needs to stop Sony. Somebody needs to stop Sony because after watching, I've said it before, and I said it in my review of Morbius. I have always kind of been against what Sony deciding to go on this entire separate venture and do their own universe, because it worked in steps for me. When Sony teamed up with Marvel and made Spider-Man Homecoming, I love Spider-Man Homecoming. I think Spider-Man Homecoming is the best live-action Spider-Man movie. Yes, I even think it's better than No Way Home, because I think from a pure Spider-Man fan's perspective, in terms of capturing the actual character, yes, they changed some aspects about the character. Yes, some aspects about the character to kind of modernize it. But as a modern version of Spider-Man and what that would look like, I thought that was such a great interpretation and such a great movie. It had such a great through line. I loved the relationship between him and Tony Stark. I loved Adrian Toomes, the Vulture, as a villain. As the villain, I love the twist with him. I love everything about Spider-Man Homecoming. You can ask Seth. I was smiling just from ear to ear the entire time watching that film. And I loved Far From Home, and I love No Way Home. I love Homecoming more than those other two, but I love the entirety of that Spider-Man trilogy. The Homecoming trilogy is one of the best superhero trilogies of all time, statistically and financially. Actually, if you look at the stats, it is perhaps the best superhero trilogy. It's all three of those movies are in the 90s, and all three of those movies made over $800 million. Two of them made $1 billion. So from a statistics standpoint, it's like The Dark Knight. It's technically, it is the best superhero trilogy, ratings-wise and whatnot. So, you got them doing stuff like that. And I'm thinking in my head that this is what Sony's going to do. They're going to just let Marvel handle the Spider-Man IP, the Spider-Man characters, and profit off of it. Then suddenly they come out and say they want to do a Venom movie. And I was confused, like many people. We weren't sure if is this a collaboration with Marvel, like the Spider-Man movies? Is this a separate Venom Spider-Man movie? But Sony were very vague about it. They're very super duper vague about, is this in the MCU, is this not? You have the classic Amy Pascal and Kevin Feige meme where Amy Pascal is like, well, maybe it is. Maybe it's when she's talking about it and Feige's just looking at her like, fuck is this bitch talking about? That was the look on his face. He was looking at the woman like, the fuck this bitch talking about? And turns out, no, Venom wasn't in the MCU. That has nothing to do with the MCU, really. This is Sony trying to, turns out Sony decided to try to profit off of the success of Spider-Man and off of the appearance that them and the MCU, Sony and the MCU / Disney Marvel are working so closely together that they can make this whole because they can do whatever they want with that character, that they can make an entirely different, franchise / universe completely based off the premise that people are too stupid and too dumb to realize that these movies aren't really connected to the MCU. So Sony didn't take the time to learn from the MCU, to learn lessons from the MCU, to learn from their time spent with the MCU, to do their own thing. What Sony came up with the conclusion of is, now that we are connected to the MCU, these people will show up and see our movies anyways. These people will show up to see our movie just simply because it may be or may not be connected to the MCU. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I really think a good 50% of the success of Venom and Let There Be Carnage is predicated off of the fact that most people can't tell the difference between an MCU movie and a Marvel associated movie. Mostly because Sony are the only ones left making us Marvel associated movies, because Marvel owns Fox, so they don't have those guys out there doing that too. So people are confused and people think these two things are connected when they're not. So Sony has been so shady about this, so shady to the point that it's just starting to become sometimes I think to myself, was it worth it? I love Spider-Man Homecoming. I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I love the entire trilogy. But Sony has made it so tough for me to watch, it's made it so tough for me to enjoy Spider-Man movies like even the one to enjoy, like even like particularly No Way Home, because in the back of my mind I'm like, all they're hamstringing Marvel Studios, and that's the thing. Marvel doesn't need Spider-Man. They don't. It'd be great. He belongs in the MCU, but I still think that the end of Spider-Man No Way Home was partially so that Sony can write themselves in a position, Sony/Marvel could write themselves in a position to, if they want to get out of it, if they want to move on to something else without having to explain it, they can simply do so without having to explain where Spider-Man is or any of that stuff. They can just move forward without having to even talk about it. I still think that it was a really good strategical thing to do, to put yourself in that position, but I still think it was a strategical thing. But Sony, the moment they announced, when Sony announced that they had this whole idea for a Sony cinematic universe, it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous to me anyway. Some people were cheering for it because they want different, and I've said it before in my other videos, like this concept that's simply making something that is different, quote unquote different, and like that, then you have to talk about layers of different. Do you mean like the difference between making the Batman and making Guardians of the Galaxy, or do you mean the difference between making Catwoman? You know what I mean? Like, because like that's what it feels like to me. I'm like, dude, none of the Venom movies aren't good. They're not good movies. Like, some people could say that they're entertaining, and I can kind of see that. I can sort of see that. I'm not entertained, but I can kind of see how others are entertained. But as long as your entertainment of that film is with the acknowledgement that this isn't good, I got no problem with people who like the Venom movies. As long as you can admit that these aren't actually good movies, that you're just getting entertainment out of them, that like they're bad movies, but they're entertaining bad movies, okay. But the Morbius movie was just terrible. And even on top of that, the thing that bothers me the most, and the reason I really made this video, because I thought, I'm like, somebody needs to stop Sony, is because Venom is one thing. The reason I'm willing and able to accept Venom, those Venom movies, even though I think they're bad movies, I think they represent a lot of problems. A lot of the old hat stuff that used to plague the comic book movie genre, that the comic book movie genre has tried so hard to overcome, and that the MCU and that Christopher Nolan and that, you know, some of the DC stuff have done such a good job, and even other stuff on TV have done such a good job of overcoming these stigmas and these ideas of what comic book movies are. And I just feel like the Venom movies kind of just drag up it's just too close to the old hat. But even that, Venom is a big character. Venom is a well-known character. Like the thing about Venom is, I could have seen them doing, in my mind, I was willing to accept the Venom movie, because I'm like, if they're going to do an R-rated Venom movie, okay, awesome. They didn't even do that. But I digress. I was willing to accept the Venom movie because Venom is a big character. But when they announced Morbius, when they announced Kraven the Hunter, when they announced Madam Web, most of us, if not everyone, universally went, why? And it struck me while I'm watching Morbius, I was watching Morbius yesterday, that the entire time you spent watching this movie, you wonder to yourself, why does this exist? The movie, nothing in this movie, nothing in this, this resources could have been put somewhere else. And now it's got me thinking, oh my God, this is what the Kraven movie is going to be like. This is what the Madam Web movie is going to be like. Because the exact same ideas, the exact same people behind it are behind those movies. And I'm just like, how can you make three rotten movies, three movies that are critically panned, and continue to just push forward with a universe? And I can only suspect, Sony is turning this Marvel, this side Marvel universe into the new Transformers movies, where everyone knows these movies aren't good, but people keep going out to see them. Because it just reported, I just heard something not that long ago, that this movie might make $60 million, that Morbius might make $60 million opening weekend. Which is insane, because it's just like, how? Where is this money coming from? Why are people going out to see this film? And you know me, I don't usually talk about stuff like this, but it's just baffling to me that Sony has managed to have successfully convinced that the worldwide audience, in America particularly, that these movies are connected to the MCU so that people will go out and see them. And Sony thinks that you're stupid. Sony thinks that you're dumb. Sony thinks that this is 2005 and 2000. This is 2005, and that people will just see whatever they tell you. That people will just see it just because they say you should see it. Sony thinks you will take being lied to. Like, it's just insane to me, which is why I'm so baffled for why people are going out to see this movie. I'm like, they lied to you. They are deceiving you. They are, and they're going to just keep doing it. They're going to just keep doing it. And the only way I can see this ending is if somehow, some way, and like, I know some people hate this idea, but somehow, some way, Disney, Marvel, they got to get the rights back to Spider-Man from them. Because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. And I remember years ago when they were having that little tit for tat, and I remember it like it was yesterday, because I remember Hector Navarro. He was doing like I think he was still on superhero news at the time. I can't remember where he's on now. It might be on Hyper RPG. But I remember him talking about the statement of the CEO of Sony, the statement of the guy, and the arrogance in which he was saying it, and the way it was like, we already know how to do this cinematic universe thing. We've learned all the things we need to know from Marvel. We can figure this out. Like that's the tone that the CEO was taking, and it's insane to me. I know they made Into the Spider-Verse, but I've said it before on my channel, Into the Spider-Verse was the exception, not the rule. And hell, Into the Spider-Verse was an accident because, as some people forget, they were promoting the Emoji Movie. They put more promotion into the Emoji Movie than they did Into the Spider-Verse, which is why Into the Spider-Verse wasn't very successful at the box office, because it didn't get a lot of promotion because they didn't think it was going to be as good as it was. So they get to pat themselves on the back for backstepping by accidentally stumbling into something good. But I digress. Sony needs to be stopped. Something has to be done. Someone needs to. I don't like monopolies as much as the next guy. But my word, if somehow Disney can get the fucking rights to Spider-Man from them, they really need to. Otherwise, I'm starting to think it's not worth it. You know what I mean? Like, even in my mind, I'm starting to go, maybe we should just move forward without Spider-Man, dude. Let Sony do it. Let Sony do whatever the fuck they're gonna do, and just move forward without Spider-Man. As sad as it is, as much as I think Spider-Man should be one of the headliners of the MCU, he should be in the MCU. It's where he belongs, is in the MCU. If I had known that Sony would take advantage of this to this kind of degree, like when it first started, I thought Sony was gonna be smart. I thought Sony was gonna let Marvel handle all the Marvel shit. But Sony, being desperate, trying to find a way to squeeze some dollars out of people's pockets. Like, it's just sad. And like, I'm not looking forward to Kraven. I'm not looking forward to this Madam Web movie. It all just seems so stupid. And after seeing Kraven, after seeing Morbius, it makes me even more nervous to go see those other movies. And it makes me even more like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Anyways, thank you guys for joining the Comic Game Movie Show. Please like, subscribe, and what do you think? Is it time for Sony to stop with this whole cinematic universe thing? Is it time for them to just give the fucking Spider-Man rights back to Marvel? Because they clearly have no goddamn clue what they're doing. Anyway, thank you guys again. I'll see you on the next one. Please remember to like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.